Um, and how was the Bible compiled? This is another topic in itself. It was compiled by different people in different places for different reasons, for example. And Bible was not established, as I said earlier, for as late as the 4th century. The final list of the biblical canon when it comes to the New Testament is from the year 367 in a letter written by a man called Athanasius. And the 27 books of the New Testament were put down by him in order, okay, as we find them today in the New Testament. And he said, this is it, this is the end. Add no more, subtract no more. Okay, this is the fountain of salvation. That's what he said. Okay, so it was in the year 367 CE, almost 330 years after Jesus, when the New Testament was finally canonized. Prior to that, they were all debating church fathers. Even the documents, 4 Gospels are anonymous documents. Matthew, Mark, Luke and John were figures who were anonymous. These documents were anonymous. There is only one testimony we have that attributes the names to these documents, and that person is Papias of Hierapolis. This is one man who in the early 2nd century said the Gospel of Matthew, in my view, was written by Matthew. The Gospel of Luke was written by the physician of Paul, Luke. So he attributed these names to these documents, and then since then they have come to be known as the Gospels of Luke, Matthew, Mark and John. Okay, for the Gospel of John we have 3 candidates. And who are they? John the son of Zebedee, John the presbyter, John of Ephesus, John of Ephesus. 3 candidates. We don't know which one wrote the Gospel of John. The highest authorities in the Christian world are to this day not sure who actually wrote the Gospel of John. So how can we know? Imagine what happens in a hadith. Forget about the Quran. Quran is out of the question. It's well established. We know it's mutawatir. It's mutawatir lafzi. It is transmitted word by word from the Prophet ﷺ. Hadith, the prophetic tradition. If you are in doubt about one person in the chain, whether he is Abdullah bin Umar or not about the Sahaba, the doubt usually it comes about either Tabi'een or Tawa Tabi'een. Okay, if you're not sure who the person is, what do you do with that hadith? If the Ravi is Majhul is unknown, what do you do? No, it's da'if. Where you have a Majhul narrator, an unknown narrator in the chain of any hadith, that hadith is da'if. Simple. The scholars do not accept it. Sorry? No, Mawdu is somewhere there's a liar. There is a narrator who is a liar. Okay? He's kadhab. And if he's kadhab, khalas, it is Mawdu. Well, you don't even accept it. Okay? But when there is a Ravi, a narrator in the chain of hadith, and he's unknown, Majhul, okay? None of the ulama, none of the muhaddithin know him. It is simply rejected, that hadith. No matter how beautiful the text is. The text may be very nice, very beautiful. It may be telling you if you make wudu, you get 1 million reward for, you get this and you get that. Maybe, but if the narrator is unknown, then it's rejected. If we apply that criteria, if we apply the standard of hadith to the Gospels wouldn't even make it to the table. They wouldn't even make it to the table. Because we not only not have the chains, we have inqata'. You know what inqata' is? Do you know what inqata' is? Inqata' is interruption. For example, we have hadith that a man from the 2nd century of Islam narrates from the Prophet ﷺ. For example, a man from the time of Imam Abu Hanifa rahmallah, who died in 150 Hijri, or Imam Malik, who died in 179. 179 Imam Malik died. So imagine if someone said, Qala Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. In the year 180, someone made that statement. Then that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam said this. People, the scholars of hadith, they would ask him, okay, who, according to who? You are saying in the year 180 that he said this about a man who died in the year 11 Hijri. Okay, so there's a difference of 170 years between you and him. You are claiming, or you are attributing a statement to him according to who? And if he's unable to give you the chain, because the chain is well established. For example, in Bukhari, Sahih al-Bukhari here. Do we have a copy of Bukhari here? I'm sure there is. Well, there is Fatawa. Okay, I'm sure there's a Bukhari somewhere here. I can see some volumes there. No, that's Quran. All of them. In Bukhari, we have chains from Bukhari to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. When Bukhari says Qala Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he doesn't say it because he's saying it. He gives you the authority. He gives you the chain, and there is no interruption in the chain. No interruption. For example, Bukhari has chains, and in these chains you have minimum 3 people and maximum 7 people. Is that clear? Some chains have 7 people between Bukhari and the Prophet. Okay? Some chains have 3 people between Bukhari and the Prophet, depending on who he got the hadith from. So the shortest chain, for example, Bukhari narrates from his teacher Makki ibn Ibrahim, and Bukhari took these reports directly from his teacher Makki. So Bukhari, when he narrates the hadith, he says, I took it from Makki ibn Ibrahim. And there is no doubt that Bukhari learnt from Makki ibn Ibrahim. Makki ibn Ibrahim says, I took it from Yazid ibn Abi Ubaid. Yazid ibn Abi Ubaid was the teacher of Makki ibn Ibrahim. Now Yazid ibn Abi Ubaid, he took his hadith from Salmat ibn al-Aqwa, who was the companion of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and then he took it from the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So there is no interruption in the chain. And all 3, Salmat ibn al-Aqwa, he lived about 70 to 80 years. Then Abu Ubaid, Yazid ibn Abi Ubaid, he lived up to 90. Also did his student Makki ibn Ibrahim, he died in his 90s. So Imam Bukhari was a young man when he took hadith from Makki ibn Ibrahim. He was in his 90s already. Some of my teachers, they are in their 90s. When I took hadith from them, my chain is, alhamdulillah, because I'm always looking for a shorter chain, yeah, going back to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So it is possible to find a man. So then we have chains in Bukhari with 4 men in them. For example, Abdullah bin Yusuf is a teacher of Bukhari. Bukhari took hadith from Abdullah bin Yusuf. Abdullah bin Yusuf took hadith from Imam Malik bin Anas, who died in the year 179. Imam Malik bin Anas took hadith from Nafi. His teacher was Nafi. Nafi took hadith from Abdullah bin Umar. Abdullah bin Umar took hadith from the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. No interruption. Direct chain, information coming directly, one after another person in the chain, to the later generations, and then it's documented in Bukhari. And after Bukhari, how many students did Bukhari have? Anyone? Over 90,000. Over 90,000 people took Sahih al-Bukhari from Imam Bukhari. And they don't doubt even one report in Sahih al-Bukhari, because the chain is uninterrupted. With the Gospels, there is no chain. There is no chain. So someone in the 2nd century claims that Jesus did this. Subhanallah, there is no chain. There is inqata, interruption of not 1 generation, 3 generations, almost a century. Where did the stories come from? So these are some of the big problems we face with the documents of the ancient world. Okay, Islamic literature is the only literature which is preserved in this unique way, and we simply cannot have any doubts about it. So it's a very big topic in itself, and we can talk about it another time.